We have a massive Los Angeles Lakers trade update to go over today as multiple reports have dropped revealing Rob Pelinka's trade plans. We're going to break down these reports and discuss what this means going forward as new targets have been revealed. And Rob Pelinka's trade plan is not what Lakers fans think. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, folks, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the 80% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Los Angeles Lakers content. If you're enjoying the daily content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys down below in the comment section. We're close to 5,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and the Lakers are rolling right now. We will have a post-game video tonight following the game, so make sure to stay tuned for that and to tune in to that. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today, and new reports have dropped surrounding, obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers and trades. And I made a video last night surrounding Walker Kessler. We have an update on his front as well, and it's not great news if you're a Lakers fan, but I'm going to start with this. This is from Wokey. Lakers' goal seems to be finding a perimeter player at the deadline instead of a paint player, and this kind of blew up and has a lot of fans interested. So you can see this here. Koloko remains a need that has become less likely with the Dorian Finney-Smith trade. So there has been some early season consensus that the Lakers would be aggressive in their pursuit of a center to either play with AD or behind him, but the Finney-Smith acquisition makes that seem unlikely. Long linked to a player like Washington's Jonas Valanciunas, a target for the team this summer in free agency, it's become clear that the Lakers need to get bigger, and that isn't as important to them as their desires to get faster, more athletic, and of course, more dynamic. And this is interesting for a few reasons. So we know that there's been continuous reports over the past few months and even dating back to the offseason, how they need a backup center. You look at their team right now, and I mean, you can see according to the depth chart, they have Dorian Finney-Smith running the pseudo backup 5 here. And we know the starting lineup, they haven't been putting Dorian Finney-Smith in the starting lineup. He hasn't been bad. I know a lot of a lot of fans of other teams out there are, crapping on Dorian Finney-Smith, saying the stats aren't great. If you watch him play, he had a huge impact in the win just the other night. But that aside, that's a conversation for another video. And it's a conversation we'll definitely be having, though. But Austin Reaves, Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, LeBron, and AD. The backup center spot is still up in the air. And these new reports are basically saying they're not going for a backup center anymore. At least that isn't one of their priorities. Their priority, now that they have Dorian Finney-Smith, is getting a perimeter player. Now, whether that's a backup point guard, whether that's someone to replace Shake Milton, whether that's just a backup shooting guard. We know they have Dalton Knecht. They have Dorian Finney-Smith now off the bench, Shake Milton. But I'm not entirely convinced that this bench is a bench that can win a championship. And I do think that the Lakers are very good, but I do think they also need to make some upgrades specifically to their bench. I think the starting lineup is going to work out. We're seeing Max Christie continue to develop and play really, really well. But ultimately, as you start to think and look at this team now, I think they're very solid when it comes to a lot of holes. Most of them are filled, but they don't have a backup center. And it's interesting to me that they think that this report is basically saying, hey, we're not going to we're not going to pursue a backup center. And I think a lot of that is Dorian Finney-Smith's pretty big. He's pretty solid. He's a very good player. But Jackson Hayes has been serviceable. And that's the biggest thing. And if I'm curious to see what your thoughts are down below. Do you think the Lakers, let me know in the comments, do you think they should pursue a backup center? Do you think that should be a priority, or should they pursue perimeter player? And we have a report surrounding one of those perimeter players here in a minute. But it's interesting to me. I think Jackson Hayes is solid. And a player that a lot of fans are talking about now is Bruce Brown. If I'm the Lakers, I try to land Bruce Brown. Last year, there were a lot of reports of them being interested and linked to him. There are two pathways to get Brown: Rui and, of course, Jalen Hood-Schifino and Wood, or Vando and Gabe Vincent plus Jalen Hood-Schifino. So Bruce Brown's a very interesting guy as well. As you start to look at players, just in general, wings, perimeter players, we know the Lakers want a perimeter player. Their goal is to find a perimeter player at the deadline instead of a paint player. That's obvious. Okay. Now, what perimeter, it's not obvious, but it is now. What perimeter player would the Lakers be interested in pursuing, right? You start to think about, again, you look at the depth chart here. Bruce Brown, where would he fit? He's very similar to Dorian Finney-Smith, not necessarily in size or anything like that, but in the way that they go about playing. Bruce Brown, a perimeter player for sure. He can shoot the three ball well. He's a 3-and-D player, albeit more of a shooting guard, whereas Dorian Finney-Smith is a power forward. And another, report here targeting shooting and athleticism on the perimeter, particularly in the form of a player who can operate off the ball, is something the Lakers should have their eyes on. Rival scouts and executives agree with that, are always quick to point out that virtually every contending team is trying to add athletic shooters to their roster. And this is where the Bruce Brown rumors have really started to pick up, because is he athletic? He's fairly athletic. He's obviously been coming off of a lot of injuries, and he obviously signed that big 2-year, $40+ million deal with Indiana, was acquired from Toronto in the Pascal Siakam trade, and their goal was to flip him for a first-round pick last year at the deadline. They decided not to. They had a ton of picks in a very weak draft class last season. So now, as he's only played 3 games, he was dealing with a ton of injuries. you would assume the Raptors would be willing to give Bruce Brown up for second round picks. And maybe they'll be stubborn and they won't go for a guy like they won't be willing to give him up for seconds. But I think that's kind of the case here. And don't look at his stats too much this season. They aren't great, but again, he's coming off of a very, lengthy injury here. And I think now he's been at times, with Denver, you think about the winning he's done with Denver. You think about now with Indiana, he's always been a solid player. He'll give you some points off the bench. He gives you really good perimeter defense and, when healthy, really solid three-point shooting. Is he a great three-point shooter? At times, we saw it in 2021 with Brooklyn. We saw it in 2022 with Denver. He shoots solid. He hasn't shot well in a couple years, but he would fit this team pretty well. Now, some Lakers fans think that it's a little bit redundant after Dorian Finney-Smith. Keep in mind, Dorian Finney-Smith is obviously a power forward. He can play small forward. He's even been playing some center. Bruce Brown, he's not going to run the point guard, but he could be the backup shooting guard and to help. And maybe they'll even throw him in the starting lineup and have Max Christie off the bench. Whatever way you want to go about it, he's what the Lakers seem to be pursuing. A guy who can play off the ball well and is solid defensively. Is there better options out there? Absolutely. You're kind of buying low, though, on Bruce Brown. You'd be able to get him, hopefully, for not many assets. And, again, you'd be giving, and maybe the Raptors would want to take a flyer on a guy like Jalen Hood-Schifino for Bruce Brown if they don't want to go the pick route, because no one's going to give him first-round picks, you'd assume, for Bruce Brown. Maybe they want to take a flyer on a young guy like, Vanderbilt, or again, Vanderbilt's making a lot of money, or maybe Gabe Vincent, wherever you go about it. Jalen Hood-Schifino, who doesn't have a ton of value now. Maybe the Lakers would, buy low on Bruce Brown, and the Raptors would probably be willing to take a flyer on some of these young guys. And as you start to look at the Lakers' plan, and as things become clearer and clearer every single day, it seems that their priority right now is definitely a perimeter player rather than a center, which is new news to us. And a report dropped as well. While teams have expressed interest in Walker Kessler, the belief in NBA circles that he's not available in any realistic trade scenario. So they're trying to keep him through the deadline. We'll probably have another video covering that. I had a video on it last night. There were reports and things were starting to heat up surrounding Walker Kessler, and then a report drops that they don't seem to be interested in trading him right now. Another guy that could be interesting, Colin Sexton. We'll have another video on him, but he is another perimeter player, and I'm not as big of a fan of this move. It would require a first-round pick, whereas Bruce Brown, you would be able to get him for cheap, and I think when Bruce Brown thrives alongside good teams, he's a valuable role player to winning teams. Toronto is not a winning team. Indiana was a winning team. Like, they were winning a lot of games before they acquired Siakam when Tyrese Haliburton was playing really well. And he was playing great, 12 points a game. He was playing solid. We saw with Denver, when he's in a winning environment, he plays a lot better. You add him alongside LeBron. You add him alongside AD, Austin Reaves. I think he would be a very good fit. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on all these trade updates. And also let me know down below, would you want Bruce Brown on the Los Angeles Lakers? A ton of new reports are dropping. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And again, things are getting crazy right now, and the Lakers are absolutely rolling, 5th in the West. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. Cheers.